And now we're going to have the future of AI. So, without further ado, please welcome our next speaker. It's Emmy Gao, the CMO of Teads and CEO of Teads Studio.
Thank you, Jeremy. Hello, everyone. As Jeremy said, my name is Emmy. I'm the CMO of Teads and CEO of Teads Studio, which is the creative technology of Teads. And today I'm going to talk about how AI is going to shape our future. But before I do that, I want to talk about why I'm here on this stage talking about the future of AI. I'm a software engineer and entrepreneur. I'm originally from Bucharest, Romania. Now, if you don't know Bucharest, Romania, Bucharest is the city where Michael Jackson came in 1993, went up on stage in front of 50,000 people and said, "Hello, Budapest." We loved them anyway. And also, in case you didn't know, today is Halloween. If you don't know where vampires come from, they come from Transylvania. That's in Romania. So anyway, when I was 19, I started a company called Brainient that used data to personalize ads. It was kind of a very crude, rudimentary version of AI back in 2009. And last year, my company was acquired by Teads, which is nice. If you don't know Teads, it is the #1 video marketplace in the world, as measured by ComScore. And this is what we do. So we invented what we call Outstream, where you're reading an article, and in the middle of the article, you get a video ad that you can skip if you don't like to watch, that you can tap on in order to get sound, and so on. So how is AI going to shape our future? I started thinking about this a few years ago because every year I do an experiment. And 1 year I slept 2.5 hours a day for 2 months. 1 year I trained my memory with the world memory champion for a year. And 1 year I read a book a week. And in the process of reading a book a week, I discovered a book written by Richard Feynman, who is my favorite physicist of all time. And he wrote this article in this book called "There's Plenty of Room at the Bottom." And the article was about a concept called nanotechnology. And the ability to take matter, everything around us is made of matter, and organize matter at an atomic level. And become really interested in nanotechnology and AI and how AI is going to shape our future. But before I talk about that, I want to talk a little bit about what is AI, right? You may know the acronym there. So what is an AI? Well, an AI has 3 characteristics. It has the ability to learn, it needs to have access to data to learn, and it needs to be able to train itself on that data cost effectively. And AI has existed in the minds of scientists for as long as computers have existed. But it's not until recently that it started really making progress. And the main reason why it started making progress is something called deep learning. Deep learning is a branch of artificial intelligence that is trying to replicate the way the human brain works. So how does the human brain work? Well, the human brain is a bit like Manhattan. The brain is a massive pattern recognition machine, and at the base level of Manhattan, at the street level, you have something called synapses. These are the connections between the neurons. And then as you're moving up into the skyscrapers, you have the neuron blocks. These are the engines that do the pattern recognition. So what does pattern recognition mean? Well, at the very base of the skyscraper, the brain can recognize very, very simple patterns, like a line or a dot. As you're moving up into the skyscraper in this neuron block, it can recognize more complex patterns like a table or a chair. As you're moving further up, it can recognize even more complex patterns like a house. And at the very top of the pattern recognition engine, it can recognize faces, which are kind of the most abstract types of patterns that humans can recognize. So with that concept in mind, what if you wanted to create a system that can look at a photo and say there's a face in this photo? How would that work? Well, let's say this is an AI, the structure you see at the top. And you feed the AI a photo. How does it decide that that photo contains a face? Well, the first thing it does is it looks at the pixels in the photo and identifies edges, identifies where the color of the pixels is different. This would be the difference between the hair and the face. Once it's done that and it's detected an edge, it takes that edge and places it on top of the photo and says, is this edge part of some more complex pattern, like an eye or an eyebrow or a nose? And then it continues doing that, takes the nose that it's identified and places it on a photo and asks, are there 2 noses in this photo? If yes, then it's probably not a face. And at the very end of this AI, it is able to recognize a face. That's how AI works. And computers have now become better than humans at detecting objects in images and videos. This is a competition called ImageNet, where scientists compete against humans in detecting correctly objects in images and videos. The human rate is about 4.3%, the error rate, and we now have AIs that are lower than 4%. So computers are better than humans at detecting objects in images and videos, which is spectacular. Well, we've become so good at this that a team at Google decided to take an AI and train the AI on 10 million YouTube videos. And then what you see on the screen here are not photos or designs by a designer on what the computer saw. They're representations from the AI on what the AI saw. So they fed 10 million YouTube videos, and the AI came back and said, I see a face. I see a kind of a human body. You may see it there in the middle. And then obviously this is YouTube we're talking about, so I see cats, obviously. So what is making all of this possible? Well, there's something called Moore's Law. If you don't know about Moore's Law, it basically says that every 18 months we can put twice the number of transistors on a chip, which means cost decreases twofold and computing power increases twofold. And the curve of Moore's Law has been exponential, which basically means that by 2025, we will be able to do 10 to the 15 computations per second, which is about what a human brain can do. Another way to visualize this is this. So if computing per second was Lake Michigan, and in order to have the human brain level of computations per second, you would have to fill the lake. Here's the power of exponentiality. So for a very long time, you double computing power every year. And nothing happens because computing power is very, very, very low. And then it keeps doubling and doubling and doubling and doubling. And at one point, it gets so big that when it doubles, it fills the whole lake, because that's the power of exponentiality. If you count from 1 to 40 linearly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, at 40, you're at 40. If you count from 1 to 40 exponentially, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, when you're at 40, you're at 1 trillion. That's the power of exponentiality, and that's what's making deep learning possible. So we have deep learning, very large data sets, and cheap and fast computing, giving us the ability to create AIs. But obviously not AIs are created equal. So what we currently have today, which is self-driving cars or ability to detect photos, faces in photos, is something called narrow AI. This is AI that knows to do just one thing. Most scientists agree that by 2025, we will have general AI, which is an AI that can learn anything. And then there's not agreement on when it will happen, but a lot of scientists believe that by 2060, 80, we should have super intelligent AI, which basically means we're fucked. So, by machines, yeah. So a day in 2025. Michelle talked about like future of communications in 2020. I wanted to take it a step forward and say, okay, in 2025, what is going to happen to our life in a world dominated by AI? And I figured what better way to illustrate this by going from morning to evening and seeing what our life looks like. So it's 7 a.m., right? You wake up. What's the first thing you do? You take out your iPhone 20. And you start browsing, right? Well, so I don't think this will happen. I don't think the interface of the future is going to be a piece of glass that you kind of scroll on. I think the main interface of the future is going to be this.
How would you describe your relationship with your mother? Thank you. Please wait as your operating system is initiated.
So this is a snippet from a movie called Her that appeared a few years ago, where there's a guy who falls in love with an AI that he talks to. And this sounds a bit far-fetched, but if you look at what's available today, you have Siri, and you have Alexa, and you have Google Home, and you have Bixby, and you have Cortana. And all of these systems give you the ability to have a conversation with what feels like an AI in most respects. It's not perfect yet, but it shows where the future is heading. Now, you've woken up, you've spoken to your AI. The next thing you do is you have a breakfast of the champs, right? I moved to the US a year ago. I gained 10 pounds because of that kind of stuff. But I think in the future, we're not going to do that. I think we'll just be able to take a pill. The pill will know what nutrients we'll need, and you will communicate that to the cloud, and then the cloud will place an order on Amazon, and Amazon will come in and place it in your fridge. If you think this is crazy, last week Amazon launched Amazon Key, which basically gives them the ability to walk into your home and place the packages there. From there to go into your fridge, it's not far-fetched. So I think this will happen, and all the technology is already in there, just someone hasn't pieced it together. The previous slide that I showed you was this little pill. That pill actually exists. It can take, it's created by a company in Japan, and it can take 360 videos of your intestines, if that's something you want to see. The largest connected device in internet IoT company in the world is ARM, and ARM have said that we're going to have 100 billion of these connected devices in 2025. So basically, everything around us is going to be connected to the internet, which means that everything around us will be connected to your AI, which means that everything's going to communicate without you even knowing, and everything's just going to happen, which is quite exciting. So 8:45 a.m., you leave to the office. I hear in Miami there's a lot of traffic, and most people drive. But I think in 10 years or 7 years, in 2025, people won't be driving. I think we'll be using self-driving cars. And if you think this is not going to happen in 7 years, well, Tesla's already driven 100 million miles on roads in the United States with their autopilot. And it's becoming better and better by the day. So self-driving cars, definitely happening. So it's 11 a.m., and you're at work, and you need solve some important, challenging, hard problem. Well, there's a scientist at Google called Ray Kurzweil who thinks that in the future, we will be able to create what he calls the connected brain and access computing power for your brain whenever you want to. And his theory is this. This is Ray Kurzweil. And he thinks we'll be able to create nanobots that we will connect to something like Amazon Web Services in order to buy computing power. And this is great because the brain is actually an amazing algorithm that runs on a very poor piece of wet hardware, which is the physical brain that we have. So nanobots. If you think having nanobots that you inject in the bloodstream that go to your brain and you can then connect them and buy computing power from Amazon Web Services is crazy, well, Elon Musk doesn't think it is. And I don't know about you, but I'm not betting against Elon Musk. And he thinks it's going to happen within the next 20 years. And he started a company called Neuralink that's working on that. So, all right, so it's 11 a.m. You've solved your problem. You then have lunch, right? I don't know about you, what you guys do during lunch, but I watch cat videos. And I think the future of entertainment is a bit more exciting than that. And there are two companies that I want to talk about. One of them is DJI. It's the largest drone manufacturer in the world. They create drones, and their drones are super smart, and they can drive themselves and so on. And then there's Oculus, which gives you the ability to have virtual reality, and it's a company that Facebook bought for a couple of $1 billion. So I think in the future, you'll be able to take one of these drones, connect it to your Oculus Rift, go to the Vatican with their drones there, or I don't know, Louvre, wherever you want to go, and during your lunchtime, instead of watching cat videos, you can kind of drive through the Vatican and actually do something more interesting. So you do that, and then let's say it's 3 p.m., you're browsing some art online. And today, most art is created by humans. But actually, a bunch of researchers have decided to show that AIs can create art and can be creative. So what they've done is they have taken a photo, and they've trained an AI to paint the photo as a number of well-known artists, like Picasso, like Kandinsky, like Pollock. And then they trained this AI, and they asked the AI to paint the photo that you see on the top left in all those different styles. And this is what the AI came back with. And then what they did is they said, OK, let's create art purely generated by AI, and then place that art combined to human art in front of people and see if they figure out which one is which. So they ran this research and nobody could really accurately figure out which art was created by an AI and which were created by humans. You can see that there. I'm sure nobody here can figure out which one is fake or created by AIs. So then they said, OK, we have these amazing AIs. How about we ask the AI to create something really, really new and original? And the AI came back with this, which is one psychedelic AI, if you ask me. All right, so we have AIs that can think creatively and create art. But if art is not your thing, then today what you do if you get bored at work at 3 p.m. is maybe you listen to some music, you go on Spotify, and you have some tracks. Well, I believe in the future, in 2025, you will go on some service and you will listen to music that was created by an AI for you alone based on your taste. So let me play a track that was created by an AI. But before I do that, what you'll hear sounds like piano. But it is not piano. It is the sound wave of piano. And the AI understood what sound waves sound good together, and then it decided to stitch them together and create original art. So this is what it sounds like. So this almost doesn't sound like something that a human would create, because it's kind of a little bit chaotic. But it's something that an AI created this year, and it's here. So, you've had a day's work, and maybe you're traveling, and you're going into a hotel. I believe, and we're in a hotel here, so if any of the hotel staff hear me, I'm sorry. I believe in the future, hotels will be run by robots. There's no reason why they wouldn't. I actually was in a hotel in Japan earlier this year called Henna, where there are no humans. Everything from the check-in to carrying your luggage to cleaning your room is run by AIs, or robots powered by AIs. If you're ever in Japan, try Henna. It's a fantastic experience. So, all right, so it's 8 p.m. You're at home, and you want to watch some video or read some content. Obviously, that content and that video is sponsored by advertising. So what happens today is you're reading an article on the Washington Post, and there's this company, Teads, that places ads in the middle. And right now, it's one ad for everyone. But I think in the future, ads will be self-assembled in real time for every single individual exposed to an ad. So instead of going to, as a brand, going to a creative agency and hiring a director and writing a script and creating one ad, what I think will happen is you will create multiple shots, like family shots or teenager shots or product shots or environment shots. And then those shots will be self-assembled in real time by an AI for every single person exposed to the ad. And I want to show you an example of what we've done at Teads recently with self-assembling ads for PlayStation.
Where RP to M.
So, Gary, we're looking for someone who's cool under pressure.
You have an ad, and the shots in the ad change depending on whether you're a sports gamer, strategy gamer, or first-person shooter game.
Someone who won't back down from a big challenge.
And this is available today. It doesn't adapt the ad for every single individual. It adapts the ad for groups of individuals. But you can imagine that in 2025, we'll be much more advanced at this. So then lastly, it's 10. Oh, and I have one more example on how AIs are already impacting advertising. And this is an ad that we created for Samsung, where it's an ad for Bixby, which is Samsung's AI voice-powered thing. And we used AI voice-powered thing to promote Bixby, which is kind of Inception-like. Let's have a look.
Hello, Bixby. Weather.
So this is a very crude example of what you can do in talking to ads rather than clicking on ads or interacting with ads. And it's available today. So all this technology that I'm showing you is there. And then lastly, it's 10 p.m. You had a long day. Maybe you have some interesting memories from the day that you want to make sure you don't forget. In the future, you'll be able to easily back up your brain in the cloud and go to sleep knowing that that great phone number you memorized of that girl in the bar, you're not going to forget. And this sounds pretty crazy, but again, Elon Musk believes it's going to happen in the next 20 years. And again, I don't bet against Elon Musk. So this is what I believe will happen in our future. And I believe AI will permeate every single aspect of our lives. And what's crazy about what I've just shown you is that in order to do all of the things that I've outlined today, we only need mostly narrow AI, maybe general AI for the backing up of the brain in the cloud bit. But most of those things can be done with specialized AI, which is something we know we can do today. So in this world where AI is all around us and it's running our lives, what should we do? That great acronym is there back there. Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to embrace it. It's going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I don't know if you realize, but 2025 is 7 years away, so it's going to happen very soon. And so I thought I should end on making 3 recommendations that are more tailored to the advertising industry, given that we're mostly in advertising here today. My mic. I can shout. So the first thing is build teams of creatives and engineers working together. I think today, if you look at the industry, we have creative agencies and media agencies and suppliers working in separate silos. And I believe in the future, in order to benefit from AI, we'll need to combine these teams. Secondly, invest in a data strategy and a DMP. An AI is only going to be as good as the data you use to train it. And if you don't have data, you're fucked. And lastly, I thought I should end on a more personal note and recommend 3 books that you can read in order to prepare yourself for this AI future. The first book is written by Max Tegmark. It's called Life 3.0, and it talks about our life in a world dominated by AI and what that does. The second book is a book called The Circle, which is a novel, and it's written by Dave Eggers, and it's a book about a company called The Circle 20 years from now, a combination of SpaceX, Tesla, Google, Facebook, and so on, and what impact that has on the world. They made a movie. The movie's not very good. Read the book. And then lastly, there's a professor called Nick Bostrom at Oxford University who wrote a book about how we're going to get to artificial intelligence. This is probably the hardest read of the 3, but I strongly recommend them. And lastly, don't forget, it is Bucharest, not Budapest. Thank you very much.
Hey, Emmy, don't run away. Don't run away. That was fantastic. Stay there for us. We've got some questions. I'm sure we can get this audience to ask some questions. What a presentation. We've looked at the present and the future. Who has a question for Emmy? Come on, we warmed you up in the last couple of sessions. Any hands?
I was very clear.
Oh, you're very
We're
clear.
fucked.
However, I've always got questions.
Okay.
I've always got questions. What do you find is the toughest challenge when trying to explain to advertisers that they should be using AI in their campaigns? What's the toughest bit you're finding? Is it the educational piece? Is it the fact that they're too scared to ask their CEOs? What's the toughest challenge you find?
So we talk about AI a lot at Teads, and the main thing we see is that people are afraid that they won't really understand what it all means, and also believe that it's going to happen in 10 years from now, and it doesn't help them with their Q4 numbers. So what we try to make sure that customers understand is that it's available now, and if you start focusing on it in 10 years, you may not have the data required to have a very smart AI, so then you will be left behind.
Okay. Has that warmed up enough people here to get them asking a question? Yes. I like this. One here and one there.
Go, yeah.
In Spanish, is possible?
Yeah, of course.
Go for it. I don't speak Spanish, but yes, ask me. I'll ask my AI.
¿Qué hacemos nosotros el 2025? ¿O qué va a pasar con las personas?
What's going to happen to the...
You can translate, yeah.
Right.
What's going to happen with the people in 2025?
Okay.
And what's going to be our job to do?
Yeah.
What's gonna be
So what's going to happen to jobs in 2025? I think it's...
Would you translate back?
with the people.
So people, I think, are safe. I don't think in 2025, when we're going to have general AI, maybe the general AI is going to go, I want to exterminate people. It might happen with super intelligent AI, because super intelligent AI is likely to see us as we see chimpanzees. Unless we find a way to connect our brains with the super AI's brains, it is very likely that they're going to see us like nice little things that are not very smart. And then when that happens, there is a possibility that they make decisions for us that might not be the best decision for us. So I think super AI has the risk there is a possibility of that happening. With narrow and general AI, I think it's more likely to enhance our lives than put our lives in some form of prejudice. So what's going to happen to jobs in 2025? Well, that's the point I'm trying to make. So if you have narrow and general AI, it's going to help people be more productive. It's going to help people be better at what they do across the board in every single industry. So nothing's going to happen to the people. We're just going to get more productive and smarter and more able to create new things. With jobs, what I think is going to happen is a lot of the jobs that require that don't require a lot of brain power, so that are kind of automated. So you take those chairs and you stack them together and you put the chairs in a truck. I don't think people will be doing that in 7 to 10 years. But creating ads, I do think having an AI that works with humans in order to create new things is going to be better both for us as well as the AIs. The only moment when I think there is a possibility of humans being in a position where they're not sure what's happening is when we have super intelligent AI. And the reason Elon Musk started OpenAI, which is a platform that's trying to democratize access to AI, is so that when we do have super intelligent AI, there's a straightforward way to hook that up to brains so that they don't decide that we're just nice pets.
Okay, thank you. And we had another question there.
Yeah, and it's actually similar, but it's focused from the perspective of education. So since the question's very similar, I'll make two. One is, with the same question, if you're going into college now, what would you recommend young children study? And then the second question I have for you is whether your Stan Smiths are your own creation or they are AI designed.
All right, so education, I think the role of the future is data science. So for the foreseeable future, AIs will have to be trained or AIs will have to be designed. And in order to be able to train or design an AI, you need a data science degree. Data science basically means machine learning engineer or statistician or anything that revolves around taking data and making sense of it. And or psychology, yeah. So I think there are a lot of, my view is biased because I'm a software engineer, so I think of everything from that perspective. But there is indeed like a soft part of AI science that addresses psychology and ethics. And I do think that's an area where young people will have jobs 7, 10 years from now because that will be required in AIs. And I cannot possibly comment about whether my shoes are created by an AI or not.
Good answer. Please, but one more question over here.
All right.
What inputs of data you're using to build your personalized videos, like image recognition, data, and combine them with the DMP recommendation that you gave?
Yeah.
Like, if we have currently a DMP right now with data, with attributions, with characterization right now,
yep, of
a lot of people, like, for example, for the people not familiar with the matter, Facebook, for example, knows behaviors, demographics, interest about each individual. How can you indeed personalize the message additionally to the image or video recognition?
So we have a data science and an AI team at TEEDS that has become very, very good at doing a number of things. What we do is we have our own first-party data, which is what people do on our network, and we have 1.2 billion people that we reach on a monthly basis that go and visit one of the publishers that we've partnered with. So we have first-party data. We then have second-party data that the publishers share with us, and we have third-party data that we buy from third-party data providers. What we do with all this data is we create a 360 profile of every single user on our platform. And then what we do with that 360 profile is every time we see an impression, we predict whether that impression, that user, is likely to take the action that we're interested for that campaign. So if we're interested to have a campaign where people are watching the entire video, what we will do is we will predict that whether a particular user is likely to watch a video. And if the answer is yes, then we do a follow-up where we predict which of the 100 different variations that we can create with our self-assembling ads is more likely to get high completions. And then with that, we decide to buy that impression and show that ad to that user at that time. And we do that within 200 milliseconds. So it works quite well.
Okay, thank you very much, Emmy.
Thank
Much
you.
appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.